Hi everyone, and welcome to this sixth video on embracing vulnerability. So this video is about getting out of your own way, and let me first tell you what I mean by that. So every intuitive professional will tell you that it is easier for them to read or work with somebody else than themselves. And that is because whenever we work with ourselves, we get in our own way. We react emotionally and subjectively to our own experiences. It can feel almost like we are too close to it sometimes. It's really, really hard to get that separation and objectivity when we're working with ourselves. But there's a big but here, because you might ask, well, then why do we do it? Why don't we just seek advice and counsel and insight from other people? Well, the reason why it's so worth it to work through these ways that we get in our own way is because when we are able to make those discoveries for ourselves, it is so much more powerful than when it comes from someone else. It just clicks. And we're able to really embrace and integrate the inherent wisdom of ourselves, and to know without a doubt that what we needed to know, what we needed to discover, what we needed to feel did not originate from somebody else. It originated from within us. And thus we are complete. We are whole already. So that is an experience that everybody should be able to have for themselves. And so in order to keep having those types of experiences, we learned the ways that we get in our own way, and so that we can try to get out of our own way. So this is how it can play out. So say you are really craving some intuitive insight, and you're looking for some wisdom, you're looking for some integration, or you're wanting to kind of know what's going to happen. Maybe you're working with your cards and divination. You're seeking answers, right? Or you're seeking peace, something. You're seeking. And so you go into meditation, and then all of a sudden your monkey brain just starts talking to you, and you can't kind of go inward, right? You feel the block. You're getting in your own way. Or you draw some cards, and you're in this emotional state, and you're just so in the emotions, and you just really want to know that something's going to work out, or you're looking for a specific answer, and then the cards just don't tell you anything. So this happens to me all the time, by the way. Getting out of your own way is a daily practice. It is something I practice absolutely every day. I have an incredibly active monkey brain. It is constantly firing at me. I'm constantly getting in my own way. And so every day part of my intuitive practice is working on getting out of my way. So how this looks for me, right? So if I am in a really emotional place, and I decide, I go to my deck and I say, oh, okay, just please help me get out of this, or give me the answer that I want to hear, in order so I can just feel like it's all going to be okay, that kind of thing. So this is what will often happen when I turn to the tarot, when I'm in that kind of triggered emotional state. These are the kinds of cards I will pull. 5 of Pentacles, right? Okay, so this is like, ooh, yeah, feeling the like out in the cold, right? And so it's just mirroring back to me basically what I'm feeling. This card, 8 of Swords, feeling trapped, feeling tied, can't get out of this like unproductive thought pattern that I'm in. This one, 5 of Swords, total being completely self-defeating. Or this is the snarkiest of them all. So this is from my favorite, or one of my favorite oracle decks, the Sacred Symbols Oracle, which most of you have already seen, because in the images that I've used to promote this series. So this is the snarkiest card of all. It's basically just saying, nope, no answer for you, sorry. right? So what this tells me when this happens is that I'm not asking the right question. And I'm coming at it from a skewed perspective. I'm coming at it from my triggered emotional state instead of coming at it from my highest self in order to be of service to the part of me, my inner child, that feels wounded or triggered, or my ego that feels scared, right? And so it's a call to shift out of that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about 2 methods that we can use when drawing cards to kind of shift out of that. And in drawing cards, one of the reasons why I love drawing cards so much as a way to develop our intuition and to be able to receive inner guidance is because the trust that we build through drawing cards will be reflected back to us in the use of our intuition and all the other aspects of our lives, right? And so the lessons that you learned through working with the cards, you can then apply elsewhere throughout your life. And I also wanted to let you know that there's been something that's been happening with me lately where I have been kind of swinging back and forth between 2 different emotional states that felt incredibly conflicting. So on the one hand, I have been grieving a lot, right? And my inner child has been telling me that she is incredibly sad. She feels abandoned. This losing of my dear kitty of 17 years really triggered a bunch of abandonment issues with me. She was a source of unconditional love for me, and so my inner child is feeling that loss and is angry and upset and is telling me, why did you take her away from me, right? So this is a very painful place to be in, and so I swing into that and grieving and releasing lots of tears. Sometimes just for an hour I'll be crying and then I'll feel better, and then I kind of go back into the other space of like, yeah, everything's fine, I'm keeping it together and I'm not thinking about it, I'm moving forward, and almost from this position where that it's as if in this position I'm feeling like that is getting in the way. And so there's been this swinging, and it's been incredibly unsettling. And something that came through just really this morning and last night was realizing that I need to be able to coexist with both of these feeling states, these states at the same time. So I can be sad, and I can be feeling the loss, and I can be nurturing my inner child and holding her while also braving the unknown, moving forward, growing, developing, doing the work that I want to be doing on a broader level, right? I can be both at the same time. And being able to have both, then I'm able to share the insights that one provides the other. So this is a similar process we do with the cards. We're bringing in multiple aspects of ourselves rather than, like we talked about before, completely allowing that emotional triggered aspect of you to take over everything. So we are activating in a lot of ways wiggle room. So this is how we begin, right? I'm using drawing cards because it can be explained so simply and be practiced so simply and easily. Okay, so this is how we begin. If you're in a highly triggered emotional state and you're drawing cards and you're receiving those types of cards I just said, saying like, nope, wrong question. So it's time to shift into using the cards instead of as a way to receive answers and divination, instead as a mirror. And so when we do this, it's really helpful, even if you've read books on tarot and you know the meanings of the cards, it can be really helpful to throw all that out. And if you're working with an oracle deck, throw out the words on the cards even, and just meditate on the image. So I'm actually just going to pull a card. I just have the universal weight deck here. I'm just going to pull a random card to use as an example with you all. Okay, so I drew the Magician, right? And so I would just begin to allow this card to be a mirror of what I'm currently experiencing or struggling with. What on this card reflects back to me what I am feeling. And being able to, so if I'm in a shadowy place, a difficult, challenging place, it might be the more shadowy aspects of this card. And like I might be kind of intimidated by this guy, or something like that. And then, so just kind of allow yourself to be held by the card. And as you're in that process of being held by the card, what's going to happen is that you allow the truth of your current emotional experience to come into view, right? You bring yourself into the present moment instead of jumping into the future. So then what ends up happening is that different aspects and dynamics of the card will start to be revealed to you. Aside from the initial more shadowy aspects that are revealing what you are currently experiencing, you begin to see some of the more positive or hopeful or optimistic aspects. So for example, you know what, actually let me use a different card because this one will work better for this example. So for example, Four of Cups, right? So I might go into this initially feeling like, yeah, that's me. I'm feeling pretty pouty. I don't know what my problem is. I don't know why I'm turning everyone away. I don't know why I feel so alone, right? And so that might be the initial mirroring aspect, and just really kind of owning and embracing and bringing that feeling state into the present. And then what will end up happening is I'll say, oh, but look, there is something being offered to me. What is being offered to me that I'm not actually being able to see at the moment? You know, what is this feeling state actually, what blinders is it putting up around me? How am I withholding myself rather than the opposite? How am I withholding from other people rather than how are people withholding from me? Right? And so these different aspects just kind of start to come in, and they might come in just as a curiosity, right? Oh, I noticed there's another cup there. And the curiosity is that wiggle room that we talked about in video 3. That the curiosity leads you to a doorway. And the doorway is your next prompt, is your next question for the cards. So then I might ask, what am I not seeing? What is being offered to me that I'm not seeing, right? That would be my next question. That would be my way in towards really receiving some insight regarding what I'm feeling at this moment. So that is how we activate the wiggle room, by first bringing our experience into the present moment with our cards, instead of using them as divination, by using them as mirrors, as aspects of meditation to bring ourselves, our current experience into the present moment, to bring acceptance towards that. And then being able to turn in conversation with ourselves. And so your triggered emotional self is not going to be able to open to the wisdom that you need. But when you're in conversation with yourself, your highest self that comes in, it's like serving as a friend, like a good friend would, right? So we often, a tactic that a lot of people like to use in order to get out of their own way when reading cards for themselves, is to pretend as if you're reading for somebody else, right? And this is actually something I do in my morning Instagram reads. So I post readings to Instagram 3 times a week. And no matter whether the reading is for me or somebody else, and I don't know before I do it, by the way, but I always assume going into it that the reading is not for me, that it's somebody else. And I post it, and I won't know until sometimes later that sometimes I'll read it and I'll be like, okay, this was clearly not for me, this was for somebody else, and I'll get the response from the comments and I'll see who it was actually for. But then sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, this reading was actually for me. But reading it from a third person position or a second person allows me the distance to really be able to read those cards with a lot of depth. So it's the same thing when you are getting out of your own way, when you're doing readings for yourself, is you're turning to this emotional triggered aspect to yourself and being the good friend that says, hey, offering a different perspective, offering a way in. What about this? Have you thought about this? Right? So, and this brings me to back to what I was saying before about how I was swinging back and forth, right, between my inner child needs and my, I don't even know what to call this, other aspects of me that is growing in this different way, right? So these two aspects of me, one that wanted to really take action and to experiment and to be creative and to be really present and driven, right? Very driven. And the other part of me that needed to grieve. So bringing those two together, what happens, and when in reading too, when you bring those different aspects of yourself together, what happens is alchemy. And that something else is created from those different aspects of yourself. So these parts of you that you feel like can never get along or that have completely different objectives and needs, when we actually allow them to coexist together, they do amazing, surprising things. And this is something also, which is something amazing about alchemy, is that it doesn't take any effort on our part. It really just takes acceptance. When we just accept these aspects of ourselves to coexist and be in paradox, it just starts to happen. We just have to be in acceptance and surrender and being, and it all will begin happening on an unconscious level. Something new will be created from that experience. It's all about trusting that those aspects of ourselves can coexist and can be in peace and harmony. And not only that, will actually lead to something pretty amazing. So I want to tell you all about an upcoming workshop that I have planned. I like to call it a circle, actually, because it's so much more than a workshop. It's called Intuitive Alchemy, and this is a 6-week experience circle that is focused around healing these different aspects of ourselves by bringing them all together and by experiencing release and by experiencing expansion and by experiencing transformation when we are able to do this. So I'm very, very excited. I'm going to have it virtual, online, but live via Zoom, and also here in Los Angeles. So I don't have the webpage for it yet. I don't have the links, but I will have that probably by next week. So please let me know if you're interested in this. You can email me. I'll have my email address below. And I believe this is going to be the last video in this series. I don't want to say 100% for sure because you never know what might come through next week. I might realize, oh no, there's one more video. I think this is it. And so if it is it, thank you so much for being with me in this series. It was such a wonderful journey to take, actually. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about that. But please do find me online at dreamintuition.com. You can learn more about me there and book an intuitive session. And please find me as well as fellow intuitive seekers at the Sacred Sojourner Space group on Facebook. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to connect with many of you again soon. Bye.